Hello, my name is Andy Harris. I'm the author of a number of books on computer programming and game development, and I've also taught computer science, including game development, for several years. In this course, we're going to be taking a look at how to use the incredibly powerful Blender tool to build your own games, even if you don't know much about programming or 3D modeling. So we're going to jump right in. I'm looking at Blender right now. Now there's several versions available. I'm using 2.72. 2.75 has just come out, but I haven't tested it yet, so I'm going to stay with this version for now. I believe things are pretty much the same. As you look at Blender, it looks like a very complicated interface. And that's true because it does a lot of things. But here's the good news. You don't have to understand all that's going on here. Not yet, don't worry. So I'm now going to give you permission to ignore much of the screen. Don't worry about this piece over here. Don't worry about this part over here. Don't worry about this stuff down here. For now, we're just going to look at the piece in the center to figure out what is going on. One more thing to notice that I have turned on a feature in Blender that allows me to show you whenever I press a key or click the mouse. And so just watch this spot down here if you want to see what I've been doing, because there's a lot of keystroke commands and so on in Blender that are kind of powerful, but can be a little tricky. This is a video, so slow it down, stop it, and rewind it if you need to. We're going to go fast because you're clever, but we want to have fun, and I'll make sure that everything is here. So as we look in the middle of this kind of strange looking gray scene, we can see the basic ideas of 3D modeling are all right here in front of us. They're very straightforward. We have basically three things. We're looking at what's called a scene graph, and that is a representation of a 3D space. There's three main kinds of things that you'll find in a scene graph. We have a light, that's this fella right here. That's a light. And then we have some sort of a camera, that's this thing right here, and we have some sort of an object to look at. So those are our basic three elements: lights, camera, action. That's how I think of it. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. Now, how do we look around? How do we know that it's really 3D? Well, here's where we have to start messing around with the interface, and there's a number of things that we can do. The first thing is to take your mouse and right-click on these objects to select them. Not left-click, you have to use a right-click. So when I right-click, I can select the box, I can select the camera, I can select the light. Okay. Left click does not do what you think. Left click moves this little red and white candy cane ring thing here, which is not useful yet. But if you have a middle button, and you should get a mouse with three buttons or a scroll wheel for Blender. It's much, much easier. If you have a middle button, then you press that middle button and move around, and you can see that your point of view is changing. Oh, okay, that's neat. Yeah, there's a way of doing it without that if you're using a trackpad or something, but get a mouse. A mouse is just worth it for 3D modeling. It's too painful to do it without. So, all right, so middle mouse button moves your view around. If you have a scroll wheel, you can move in and out with that scroll wheel to zoom in and out. Oh, that's handy. And shift with the middle mouse button allows you to pan your viewpoint. Well, that is extremely useful. Yes, it really is. Because this allows us, with these three things, that's just a middle button, that's a shift middle button, and that's the wheel. I think control middle button also does the same thing. Yeah, control and middle button and moving up and down also zooms. But if you have a mouse with a wheel, it's worth it. They're not expensive. You really want to have three buttons because there's a lot going on here. Okay, this is very nice. It allows us to see our point of view. But I'm going to do something else here. Now I'm going to do a little bit of magic. I'm going to kill that, and I'm going to put another object in place that's a little bit more interesting. We've got a monkey. Huh? Well, why am I showing the monkey? Well, the problem with the default box is that the side and the front and the top all look the same. So when we look at this more complex object, and Blender has this built-in object called Suzanne the Monkey. We love Suzanne. She's our friend. So when we look at Suzanne, one of the great things about her is we can tell that's the front, that's the top, that's the bottom, that's a side, that's a side. So that's great. And this is also important because it leads to one of the biggest problems in 3D modeling. How in the world do we visualize a three-dimensional space when we've got a two-dimensional screen and a two-dimensional mouse? Yeah, that's pretty tricky. But it turns out there's a couple of ways to do it. One thing you can try is Control-Alt-Q. On your Mac, it's Control-Option-Q, but yeah, there you go. Now, what this does is it switches us to what's called a quad view. A number of 3D modeling packages use this as their default view. Now, what the quad view does is it allows you to look at the same object in 4 different directions. So this is showing me the top, the front, and the right side. And this area is 3D, it can be whatever. Now this is interesting because to help visualize it, what you can do is you can say, hey, imagine that this is a big box. So there's the front of the box. Now you fold this piece down, and that would show you the top of the box. If you fold this piece over behind, then that would look like the side of the box. So that's pretty helpful. This quad view is one way that people try to manage three-dimensional space. Now the truth is this really clutters up the screen. It gets small fast, so I don't actually use this. A lot of Blender developers use another trick, which I'm going to show you. First I'm going to turn quad view off, Control-Alt-Q. Now if you have a numeric keypad, that's the that's the keypad beside your keyboard. Take a look at that thing right now, and you'll see that it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, of course. Well, where is 1? Well, 1 is, sorry, I said 1 while I was thinking something else. 1 is at the lower left of the keypad, like this front view is. Okay, I get that. Okay, so where's the 3? Well, the 3 is the lower right of the keypad. Yeah, just like this guy is, the lower right of this 3D view. And where is the 7? Well, the 7 is at the upper left, just like this thing is. Okay, so now that you've seen that, let's go back, Control-Alt-Q to a full screen, and watch what I do when I hit the 1 key. When I hit the 1 key on the numeric keypad, not the one that's on the top of the keyboard, but the one that's on the side. If I hit the 1 key, then I will get a front view. If I hit the 3 key, I will get the side view, like the side of that box. If I hit the 7 key, I will get the top view. And so that's what most Blender developers do, is they use those shortcuts 1, 3, and 7 to get the various viewpoints very, very rapidly. Okay, let's take a look at 3. Now that's from the right side. Watch what happens when I do Control 3. That shows me the left side. Okay, if that's 1, what's Control 1? Sorry. That's the back. If 1 is the front, Control 1 is the back. If 7 is the top, what do you suppose Control 7 is going to be? The bottom. Okay, now some of you do not have the extra keypad on the side. And so you may have gotten some really weird behavior. In fact, some of you, when you pressed, say, the 3 key, you got, oh, everything disappeared. Oh, my word, it's gone, it's gone, it's gone. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear, right? You're wave-handing, hand waving and everything. Relax. If that happened, take a look down at these little boxes. What you did is you moved to another layer. And we don't care about layers yet. Just click back there or press the 1 key to get back. Now, if you happen to be using a Mac, as I am today, I don't have the extra keys. So what I do is I just map my top keys to this. You can go to File, User Preferences, and as you look at the editing, then one of your options is to set the key is to set the keys. I don't have it right in front of me. I can look it up for you if you want, but it's not terribly difficult. So this is really, really handy. If in doubt, go buy yourself a keyboard and a decent mouse for Blender editing. It's worth it. It's so worth it. So let's review again. 1 is the front, Control 1 is the back. 3 is the right side, Control 3 is the left side. 7 is the top, Control 7 is the bottom. Now I'm going to show you another, just a couple of other keys on here so you can see what they do. And they sometimes make sense, sometimes they don't. The 5 key changes from what's called a perspective view to an orthographic view. The orthographic view, everything is the same size. We don't have any perspective showing. When we hit the numeric keypad 5, then you can see that the lines disappear in the distance, like the perspective view you learned in your middle school art class. And that's really nice. Sometimes that's what we want to see. Sometimes we don't want to see that. So we can use this perspective key to kind of turn that on or off. The other keys, like the 2 and the 8, are used for a little more precise movement of the viewport. I rarely use them. I use my 1, 3, 7, and occasionally 5. One more very useful key on the numeric keypad is the 0 key. And what that does is it lets you look through the current camera. So wherever the camera happens to be set, the 0 key is actually showing us what the camera sees. That's not going to be important for a while, but it's a nice thing to know about. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, well, come back next time and we'll talk about how we manipulate an object inside the viewport. I'll see you then.